I knew it would end up like this. Spency boy is psychic. Sup, my dudes? The tea-sipping, predicting boy is back. I haven't lost my touch. I promise you, I still got it. So let me just play you a little clip from my video from last week reviewing their track right before this one, their San Diego track, okay? Just take you a little listen to this right here. This track right here is definitely a good step in the right direction. We'll see if they can keep this energy up. I doubt it. Typically, you know, they'll have like their third or fourth round to be pretty good. They'll kind of figure it out, but then they'll revert everything and they'll start going back to smaller scaling, and the 250 pros and the 450 amateurs start to complain too much. Like, I can't hit these triple ends. The whoops are too big, RF. I can't get through the whoops. And then by the time you get to like round 5 or 6, RF has basically reverted on all the progression that they made, and they tone down the whoops, and then they tone down the rhythms, and then they make it more for a 250. Again, this is the definition of whenever I talk about track scaling and how much of a difference that makes with the skill gap of the track and the difficulty of the track, and a certain Supercross track feeling like an actual pro-level Supercross track. This is a perfect example of that. When you compare their track from the previous round, their San Diego track, to this Anaheim 2 track, go ride on both those different tracks. The San Diego being the bigger scaling, like even in the 250 Pro main event of the San Diego track, even the dudes in the very front, they were having to go all the way around the very outside of the berms just to be able to barely hit the triple ends on the rhythms. And there was even one of the rhythm sections they couldn't even triple in on it on San Diego. That certain rhythm section right before the Supercross triple, they weren't even hitting it at all in the 250 main event. And then you get to this track, you can get around this track rhythm section wise and rhythms and how you're like tripling in and all that. You can do everything that you would do normally on a 125, bro. I'm not even over exaggerating. That is how small and basic and easy and tiny the scaling really is on this track right here versus their track from last week, the San Diego track, where, like I'm saying, even the top 250 pros were struggling just to triple in on the rhythms. That's the difference right there between a pro level track and an amateur track. This is just simply not a pro-level difficulty track. Every time I come out here and I can finally make a video, finally RF goes in there and starts to make proper track scaling. They actually make a track that feels like a pro-level track. You know, finally. It's literally like the second that I start talking about RF is doing something right, then they just go backwards. They revert on everything. They're like, oh shit. Spencer started telling us we're doing something right. We can't do that, boys. No. We got to go back to doing it shitty again. Oh my gosh, RF. You can't even make like 2 or 3 tracks in a row that have that bigger scaling, you know, that bigger skill gap, or the triple ends are actually somewhat difficult. You can't even do it for more than like 2 or 3 rounds. And then you go back to this weird, bizarre, these kind of weird rhythm sections where you can totally mess up in them. Even in this gameplay, I was just in here goofing off. I ran like 5 laps on the track, but I was trying to hit the corners as far inside as I could just to see what would happen in the rhythm section. In that first big rhythm section, I totally messed up, totally jacked up the rhythm, and I could still hit the triples through the rhythm section. That's how you know right there. I wanted to keep that in this gameplay just to prove to you. Kind of reminds me of their Oakland from last year. You can totally botch the rhythm section and still completely get through the rhythm section like you never even messed up. That's how you know it's not built right. These jumps just don't have the right kind of peak to them. The whole entire rhythm lane is too short, so then everything feels cramped down like you're on this weird arena cross built for a 125 kind of bizarre ass feeling to the jumps. That's what this whole track is. None of the jumps jump you high enough. Everything's too tight and tiny and small and weird. It just feels like the track is not even made for a normal size bike on MX Simulator. That's literally to the level of what this is. This is the worst track, the worst RF track for its time, okay? That's the big thing here, for its time. You don't want to start trying to compare this to like a 2010 RF track or some stupid shit like that, okay? But we're in 2023, and for what you would expect RF to be doing with their tracks in 2023, I promise you, this is the worst track ever for its time. It is literally that bad. It is seriously that bad. You know, Spency Boy, literally, but like literally. This is one of those videos. This track is seriously that bad, bro. Oh my gosh. That's the problem right there that I really don't think RF understands, okay? Here's a good analogy. Here's a good comparison. If you took the entire population of people that ride dirt bikes, okay, and you sat them down on a full-blown AMA Pro Supercross track, okay, and you said, go run you a couple laps on that and tell me what you think about it, okay? Well, I can promise you about 95% of those people would absolutely hate the track. They wouldn't even be able to get around it. They wouldn't even be able to jump anything. They'd flip over the bike. They'd be rolling the whoops. They'd be going around the whoops. They wouldn't be able to hit the Supercross triple. They wouldn't be able to hit the finish line. That is seriously what, probably even more than 95% of, if you took the whole population, okay, of everybody that rides a real life dirt bike, it'd probably be 99% of the population would be like, this track is terrible. It's too hard. I can't get around it. Oh my gosh. The whoops are too big. I can't hit the jumps. Okay? That's because it's a pro track that is made for 1 percentile of the population. Okay? So when you get to MX Simulator, okay, 99% of the people playing the game should be saying that the track is too hard. They can't get around it. The whoops are too big. They can't hit it. Especially all of your amateur riders and even a bunch of your 250 pros. It's supposed to be a pro track for a reason. Okay? It's not supposed to be fun for everybody. It's not supposed to be where everybody can get around the track. That's the whole entire point of it. That's the whole point of it. So, that's what I'm trying to say right here. Like, I didn't even have to see the track. I didn't even have to see the layout or anything. I didn't even see anything. I just hopped on the track. I hadn't even played MX Sim for like 3 or 4 days. Hopped on the track, hit everything on it the first lap. That is not a pro track. Period. It's not. And if you think it is, you need to rethink your shit, because this is not a pro track. This is a 2 out of 10 beginner amateur track that was made for a 125.